amplify the signal by liking, subscribing, commenting, and sharing this video. Let's get started. Welcome back. Today I have Joe Bryan with me. He is the creator of the viral video, What's the Problem? And I am so excited to have you here with me today so you could share your message. And I mean, it has generated a huge amount of attention because of your, the way you deliver the message. You just cut through all the noise. You just get right to the point, and it's really easy to understand what the problem is. And I just love listening to that. I love that you're spreading the message. You've joined some of the biggest podcasts out there, and gotten a lot of attention for it too, for good reason. So thank you for joining me today.
Well, delighted to be here with you, Staci. So thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no problem. How long ago did you create that video?
That was in January.
January. Okay. Do you
Yeah.
feel like what you're seeing now happening in the world, like, I love what you said about watching, media and seeing them discuss the color of the curtains while the house is burning down.
Well, I can't take credit for that quote because that's from Larry.
Is
That's from
it?
Larry Lafard. Yeah, and I
Okay.
was like, I love that.
It's a
I
great
love
quote.
that quote because it's exactly what's happening. It's
Mhm.
exactly what is happening. I mean, you put the TV on, and it's like the world we know doesn't exist. They're talking about stuff that's just meaningless, absolutely meaningless. And it's a combination of not being aware of it being an issue to some degree, and the rest not wanting to draw attention to it because they can't fix it. It's much easier just to give away free money to everybody and try and stay in power.
I love what you said, also about the captured media, because you wonder why that is sometimes. You wonder if it's like, what's the purpose of the distraction and why they don't talk about the real problem. But when the media is captured, if you could explain it in a better way, but when there's incentives behind the people supporting the people spreading the message.
I mean, throughout history, politicians want to control the narrative with the population, and so in the past, that would have been the newspaper industry,
Mhm.
right? And you'd probably have half a dozen newspapers that would set the agenda, and you needed to make sure everyone was on side. And so owning a newspaper was a very powerful position to be in, right? And you could make a lot of money from being in that position. You could help people get elected. You could help, you know, benefit from favors in return. It's a bit more, it's a bit different now because we don't just have six newspapers anymore, 10 newspapers, depending on which country you're in. But, to some degree, you have the democratization of information, and then the cat's out the bag. And then the media needs to be weaponized to a greater extent by the state to then try and demonize some sources of information as being, misinformation or disinformation because it doesn't align with the narrative. And they don't have a way to control that flow of information. Eventually they try and create them, like in the UK, we have the online safety bill, this sort of nonsense where they can get people to take down websites if the government doesn't agree with them for misinformation and disinformation. I mean, we've lived in nothing but disinformation for the last God knows how many years, but especially since 2020 with all the governments around the world. And so it's doubly galling because all you get is disinformation from the government in the first place,
Mhm.
right? And then to brand people applying critical thinking or processing and sharing information that they observe with their own eyes and ears and use critical thinking as misinformation or disinformation is just outrageous. But this is the world that we live in. But it's enabled through the money printer.
Yeah.
Because if you control the money printer, you can control everything. because everything's just downstream of it.
Yes, exactly. I 100% I love what you were saying in the video as well, just describing how everything is downstream of the money printer and all these issues you see really they are all related to, the devaluation of the currency. Do you think that the media is sort of the way it looks to me like it's fighting for survival, and that's why you see this clickbait polarization kind of happening because of the way that media is being more decentralized these days with people sharing their voices and kind of taking away some of the attention from mainstream sources and kind of catching them in their lies too at times. So,
I mean, at times is generous. It's like all the time,
yeah, right.
all the time. I mean, but you see this very starkly as well, because
Mm,
if we didn't have X,
mhm,
we would be in and Nostr. I would say Nostr as well, but Nostr is even more niche from a Bitcoiner perspective, but
mhm.
is truly without the
Algorithm.
filtering that we still get on X. But X is miles, is a lot better than we have to suffer on any other platform.
Mhm,
But as a community, like we see every single day, if we were to watch the mainstream news, and a lot of us don't because it is so galling or just so apparently false the vast majority of the time, or mindless, like
mhm.
talking about the wrong things. But you
Right.
see that stark contrast. But then you interact with people in your daily life who are not on X, and they take for granted what is given on the BBC in the
Mhm,
UK as the truth, and it's just not. It's just a pack of lies or half truths. And, you know, it's a worrying time to be in the UK. Um, you very jealous of you guys over there with freedom of speech and more protection from against the government than we have over here.
I can't believe what's been going on over there. I can't believe people are getting arrested for social media posts. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's insane.
Yeah, it's we've gone full. Um, yeah, I've got to be careful slightly with
Yeah,
what I
right,
say.
right, right.
But like
No,
when
no.
you're on a list of when you're on a small list of countries that implement these things, and you look at the other countries on the list, you think we're not in a free society anymore,
Well, it
right?
kind of reminds me of what you said when it's like the fiat system starts to fight for its life too. They start to control like censorship where it's it's showing up in all different parts of life. It's not just in money where you can't use that money to buy Bitcoin anymore type of idea, but there's control in all sorts, like penetrating other parts of your life and you lose your freedoms. So it's a scary thing, and yeah, that can happen anywhere at any time. The more these systems kind of fight for control of narratives, fighting for their survival probably is why it's happening.
Yeah, yeah, it is because it's the direct result of the money printer because you get this sort of whipsaw effect that starts to come into society, and so for those who've seen the video, you'll think probably remember the flow chart. The money printers causes the inflation, which causes this, it causes that, which causes this, and um, causes more money printing, and then that leads to bigger government, and then the bigger government gets the series of parasitic industries appearing around it, and then more and more control of society through the media and through the war machine and all of these things. Because the only way to keep things on track is to grow the government,
Mhm,
because you can't have less control. You can only drive growth through additionally excessive money printing, and that starts to accelerate. At no
mhm,
point can you take your foot off the gas for more than
mhm,
a short period of time before things start to roll over again. And so, more printing, more destruction of society everywhere, things start to fray, and people are unclear about why life is deteriorating. But
mhm,
they know it is. Everyone knows it's deteriorating. But when you experience something but you don't know where it came from, you're looking for the answer. And if you have politicians, then your default is the status quo is not working. And the
Mhm.
status quo is held out to be, you know, liberal democracy, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we barely live in that right now. It's like intolerant and it's not really democracy.
Mhm.
Um, but then people get pushed to the extremities. You have the people who have done worse off from the wealth inequality because the wealth inequality has been driven from the money printer, get told they live in a capitalist society when they don't. They live in crony corporatism.
Mhm.
So they get told every day capitalism doesn't work, right? We need socialism. When in fact you're living in socialism already, and that's partly why you're driving the destruction of
Mhm.
this. But you especially have socialism at the top for the wealthy because it goes wrong, you get bailed out. If it goes right, you keep the profits. Right?
Mhm.
And so you then get this swing to the left, especially with the young who see no hope. Right?
Mhm.
You have the rise of populism on the socialist side, which then pushes the people who have done well or can see through the nonsense that is socialism. And this is people in the center or even on the left who just realize socialism and communism just lead to death and destruction everywhere, always.
Mhm.
And so they sort of go to the right, right? And they look for a strong leader, somebody who's going to, stick it to them or, blame the foreigners or, one of these things. And so you end up with a very split political spectrum. And then it's like, the gap between the two becomes massive, but on both sides, the state just becomes stronger. Because on the socialist side, it's, everybody for the state. Nobody owns anything. Everyone's impoverished. And on the other end, it's everything for the state. You
Mhm.
nominally would still own your assets, but in the extreme, it's fascism and everything's directed towards the state. So you nominally own it until you don't. The state owns everything in both directions. So this is just we're heading for disaster, and it is all entirely because of the money printer. So you look at the news, and it's depending on which country you're in, it's like it's mainly left leaning, discriminating against anybody that is not a socialist as being far right, which is just absolutely nonsense. Like to be far right now is like a normal person 20 years ago. We live in some crazy, crazy times.
Yeah.
Um, and the UK is just like rapidly going off a cliff. And then we're in a debt spiral now. It's you know print more money, you kill the economy, you raise the taxes,
Mhm.
drive more socialism, you drive everyone away, growth declines, you destroy
Mhm.
the free market.
I'm excited to announce my new website, BitcoinNova.store, for clothing, accessories, and even pieces with a QR code so you can amplify the Bitcoin Nova signal and bring more people to the channel to learn about Bitcoin. You'll also find playlists from this channel and from the Hive Minded channel, the projects I support, including BitcoinBlackSheep.com, affiliate links, and everything Nova related, all in one place. And don't forget to check out IllinoisBitcoinCouncil.org. $50 in fiat or sats goes a long way to paint Illinois orange. The greater the nodes, the stronger the network. How close do you think we are to the red button? I feel
I mean, yeah, it's mainly when are you not pressing the big red button as opposed
I
to when you
know.
are pressing the big red button.
The red
It's
button is just nonstop.
yeah, yeah. If you look at um the expansion of the balance sheet and the growth in the money supply, it's pretty much a straight line. It's just occasionally they accelerate it, like during COVID, and then they
Hmm.
try and rein it in and basically maybe shrink it a little bit, and then things start to fall over and they need to print money again.
So
It
maybe
is,
instead of tapping the red button constantly, they're going to just smash it with a hammer eventually. Like it'll just be like because it needs to be kind of increased dramatically at some point. It'll almost be like a total vertical.
but
I mean, the way that they
yeah,
have to kind of exponentially grow this thing. It's like they can kind of keep it rising, but it just seems like there's gonna be a huge one coming.
But there's 3 ways they do it, Stacey, because hitting the big red button is not just printing money. So they're gonna print money forever because they have to. It's a debt-based system. You have the ability to do it to finance the ever never-ending wars and the
Mhm.
socialization of every aspect of life until the government runs everything for everybody. That's going to happen anyway, right? Because they have the ability to. But the other aspects is that they remove you from having any sovereignty over your money at all. Right? And that's because of the big red button as well, because they can change the characteristics of the money. Like if we
Yeah.
never had sovereignty of the money other than in cash form, and that wasn't backed by anything anyway, like well, it wasn't backed by energy in the way that we would consider our money to be
Well,
backed
and
by energy.
technically you still don't even in cash form, because if somebody wanted to take a large amount of cash to another country, they would stop you at the airport. It's not
Exactly.
like you're able to just move with lots of cash.
Yeah. So they're finding ways to reduce the surface area in which you can be sovereign. And I'm using sovereign in sort of like, quotation marks because you're not sovereign, right? You're sovereign in a particular area for a certain amount of time to a certain degree. That's not the same as being sovereign. Um, but you're right. So they make it harder and harder and harder to have cash, to transact in cash, to harder and harder to access your money that you do hold a digital form because it's through layers of permission, right? And then there's extra, not just the permissioning, there's then KYC, AML, you know, terrorist financing laws, like as many different amounts of friction that you can insert between allowing somebody to access their own money and use their
Mhm.
own money, right? So this is just a series of, it's like extensions of the big red button. So that's the second one. But
Well,
then oh, sorry, go on.
oh, I want you to remember that thought, continue from
Yeah.
where you're going, the third one. But I just wanted to say that part of the thing about the inflation of the dollar is probably a way toward controlling that sovereignty also, because if they make the dollar more worthless, like you wouldn't want to hold it in cash, you would want to invest it because you think that that's growing your money. So that way they have it trapped in another form for you. So you can't just leave or just take off and take everything with you that you own.
Absolutely. And this is why whenever they put limits on anything, it's never inflation linked. They're always like $10,000 limits or $1,000 limits. Because in 10 years' time, it'll be half the amount in real terms. It's the same with the tax system, right? Especially in the UK, you have explicit tax thresholds and you just get this drag. Inflation just pushes everybody into higher and higher tax brackets without the government having to raise taxes.
Mhm.
Um, the third one is, we live in a scenario where they can print as much money as they want. They can separate us from our money. But the third leg is when they weaponize the money against us. And the weaponization of the money against us is what happens next. Is like once you have a digital ID, you are then giving the platform to weaponize the money through central bank digital currencies. Now, whether you call them a CBDC or you call them a stable coin, right? Very little difference between the two,
Mhm.
right? They're permissioned money, permissioned digital programmable money,
Yeah,
currency,
and I think
currency.
when people start seeing that, I think that's a big problem because there's so much misinformation or control of media
Mm,
that I think if people start seeing that these central whatever these currencies are that would be linked to a digital ID are so different from what Bitcoin is, but people lump Bitcoin together with everything that's digital money. And
yeah,
it's not the same. It is freedom money. It is uncensorable. But people mistake that. And I think that that's something that I hope more and more people find out as the system continues to decline, that they find out that truth and it's not the same thing.
it's not the same thing at all. But the difference becomes starker the more they corrupt the money or corrupt the currency. Um, but this is a slippery slope we find ourselves on, and different parts of the world are on a slightly different slope, moving at different speeds, but everyone's heading in the same direction. So, Europe is going. flag waving, CBDC flag waving into, off a cliff. The US is embracing stable coins as a way to exert economic power around the world, which is totally logical for them to do. But stable coins are just CBDC light. The
Yeah.
same. They're still controlled by the government ultimately and can be changed and frozen and reversed. And, you know, I don't think you'll be attaching carbon credits to them anytime soon, but they will be in Europe. And then UK is somewhere between the two. Um,
Or our
everyone's,
digital
everyone's
IDs
heading
are
in the
already.
Chinese direction. Though. I mean, make no mistake about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are they already implementing digital IDs in the UK?
No, not
No.
as of not as of yet. But
Okay.
they've said they are. It's gone off the
Mhm.
boil in the press recently with all the other scandals and budget deficits. We've got the budget in the next couple of weeks in the UK, which is just
Mhm.
going to be another horrendous piece of work by the government. Just drive more people out, steal more wealth from everybody, and undermine the productivity of society and leave
Mhm.
everybody worse off. Um,
I
it's like it's
wonder.
like it's like watching a car crash in slow motion, Stacey. It's
Yeah.
incredibly depressing.
Mhm.
However, we have Bitcoin.
Yeah. Thank
You know,
God for that.
yeah, I mean, we would be living in a dystopian nightmare
Yeah.
if we did not have Bitcoin.
I have chills.
Mm.
Like, it's really I and that's what you makes you wonder, the more people that look around and think this way, that they feel how dystopian this world looks and how scary this is, and not realizing that the money printer is behind all of this stuff, the destruction of society and the control over everything. You look around and you feel hopeless, you feel depressed, you feel like you have zero control. And then Bitcoin gives you control, gives you hope. So I mean, we're so lucky to know about it, and that's why we want to share it with others and teach them about what this is and why it's different and how it gives you that hope and freedom. But I feel bad, when people don't understand that, because how like we felt that way. Everyone that finds Bitcoin, I think, feels that sense of hopelessness and depression, and it's you look and you see this stuff, and you're like, where's the exit? How could I get out of this mess?
Yep. An increasing number of people are looking for the exit.
Hmm.
Bitcoin is the exit. It's the
Oh, hey Mel.
Hi,
Sorry,
Mel.
I think we got our times wrong. I still have another. Oh, she's she just left. I told her 12:30 Central Time, but I think I'll send her a message soon.
All right. Well,
Um let me just send her one real quick. I'll cut this part out
that's a
really
nice
fast.
surprise.
Sorry.
It's all right. Take your
There you go.
time.
That happened to me one other time before.
Are you interviewing her or is she a
Yeah.
friend? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm interviewing her. Um, she created the Bitcoin Boomers podcast, so
Ah, okay.
she's doing that. So I want to talk to her about that. Some, figure out what she's up to. Um, so yeah, I just messaged her another hour, so we're good.
She's
Um,
she's welcome to join. It's fine.
yeah,
Feel
right. I
free
mean, we could do a
wherever you want. Yeah.
panel. We could do a panel. I like doing those. Um, I mean, why not? We can see, but we'll see. I'll tell her if she wants. I didn't know that people could just enter the same room, but I guess now that's happened to me twice. I guess they can. Um, so where were we? Yeah, the thing I think is this, you know, the way that people feel the worse the system gets, the more people look for an answer. And I kind of feel bad for the people that are higher up on the wealth scale that don't need to look for an answer for a longer time, um, until it's time for them to find it. So,
Yeah. I mean, there's two ways of looking at it. They're more insulated in the first place. Other people are feeling the pain sooner, and so it's hard to have too much sympathy for that relative to the people who are feeling pain. But
right, right.
yeah, it's you're more likely to find Bitcoin when you need it,
Mhm.
and more people need it because there is just no way to protect your family. within the system.
No.
Because if you work hard and you have a job, you're being stolen from probably faster than the rate at which your earning power goes up in dollar terms,
Mhm.
right? From the explicit inflation, from the semi-visible inflation through the shrinkflation, and through the hidden inflation, which is the corruption of quality in everything. And you can all, everyone can feel like things are crumbling in terms of, quality and things like
Right.
products, quality of interactions, quality of society. It's all deteriorating. And that's the hidden aspect of inflation. But you're living through that every day. And so you're just slowly suffering this like treadmill of decline
Mhm.
with no material prospect of ever having the trajectory change. And so it's like this slow bleed of quality of
Mhm.
life and more pressure, life getting more expensive all the time and quality going down. And that's like a very hard place to be in, very hard place. And so you're,
Even people at their jobs, not just the quality of the product, but even the service. People care less because they're doing a job that they despise for not enough money. They go home, they're still struggling. So it's like not like people are doing it with care and joy and love because they are so happy there. They're doing it with like, "Oh, I have to work today," and nobody's, you know what I mean, happy to do it. So
well,
they're just lazier and
this is all just a consequence of fiat.
mhm,
Like fiat leads to the distortion of the free market and then the the total compromise on excellence. Because it, as the government gets bigger, bigger and bigger and bigger, the government gets elected by giving out free money
mhm,
to different parts of society.
to
And so you,
themselves. Yeah.
well, yeah, yeah, from first to themselves and then to their friends or the
Yes.
people who they want to be their friends in the
Mhm,
broadest possible sense, right? But that distorts the free market because you're
mhm,
using printed money,
mhm,
and so you destroy the productivity. And the people who are not dependent on government handouts see the pain because they're paying more and more taxes for less and less benefit, a deterioration in their quality of life. And it gets to the point where some people just say, What's the point?
mhm.
What's the point? I'd actually be better off not
Not working.
working. I mean, what sort of society gets to the point where you're better off not working than working? And it's like just suicidal empathy combined with, well, it's the big red button allowing unlimited money printing, which weaponizes suicidal empathy to destroy society.
Mhm.
You
Oh my
can
god.
care about people, you can help provide a safety net, but the biggest help, the biggest safety net, the biggest, um, the North Star for any society should be free market capitalism because it improves quality of life for everybody. It drives prices down and quality up, which raises the quality of life for everyone. And so the free market solves everything.
Mhm,
If you go and introduce minimum wage laws, or you go introduce, you know, DEI stuff, like anything that discriminates against two people being able to transact freely between themselves, you are distorting the free market. You are corrupting the free market. You are driving a worse outcome. And those things compound until you destroy society. And you can do those things when you can pay for those things without end through the money printer.
Isn't it almost like a parent when you have a kid, instead of letting them figure it out and go through a little pain that makes them stronger, it's like a
Yeah.
parent constantly stepping in and giving them help, but then it doesn't teach the kid anything and you're not fixing the problem. You're just uh, enabling their behavior so they can continue making mistakes. And, it's like bad parenting, really. So it's just, not a good thing because every time the government tries to help in any way, they think, "Oh, we'll control this to make it better. We'll print this to make it better," but all it does is make it worse.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, and they justify their own involvement. They use the problems they've created to justify further involvement.
Mhm,
And and there's no end to that cycle
mhm,
if you have no accountability to balance the books.
mhm. No
And so what
accountability.
and so what's the natural outcome? You just consume everything.
Mhm,
You end up controlling everything. And then you get total destruction of everything. This is like so obvious. It's just so obvious. And that's very clearly where we're heading.
mhm.
And we're just heading there, year by year, 5% here, 10% there. But it's just it's starting to really compound. People are starting to feel it. It's just like more and more people are waking up, like just normal people are waking up to the fact that there's something not right.
And
Something
I
not
think more and more people are waking up to how you said, I think it was in your "What's the Problem" video that more people are competing for actual monopoly money. Like, it's
right.
like, I think once you understand Bitcoin, that's all you ever look at it as. Like, I just look at cash now, and I just think this is just paper that's worthless, and it's literally the same as the game, and people are just hungry for that, and, they think that'll solve their problems if they get more of it, but it just keeps it's worth nothing. It's like a toy, it doesn't matter.
It is, but yeah, I totally agree, and it's hard once you have the penny drop not to just think of it in that way and view it in that way. But quite often people are set up to never be able to escape that, even if they do feel that way, because they get debt laden when they're young. Everybody in society, or like the vast majority of the people in society, has to go into debt. Because if you want to have a family, you want to have somewhere to live, right? If you want to own your own home for the long run, own your own home, we could talk about that in a minute. You have to borrow a load of money to do
Mhm.
that. And so
Yeah.
you have to then pay that back. So even if you wake up one day and say, this is monopoly money, if your situation is that the cost of living is outstripping your ability to save, your ability to drive your earnings up, you find it harder and harder to save. So even if you think this is total monopoly money, the spare amount of monopoly money you have on a monthly basis is probably very low and declining. It's like there's no way to save that within the system. It's only with Bitcoin. That's only with Bitcoin. But probably to the extent that the number of dollars you owe is far, far, far greater than the amount that you could possibly save even through Bitcoin. Like you are trapped. You are trapped in that system, even if you think it's monopoly money. Right. And this is like everyone.
I don't know if you think this, but I just have that feeling, and when you think about the 2008 crisis when Bitcoin was created, and the mortgage-backed securities and the big bubble that happened, and it was all a lie and just terrible. The way that the credit bubble and the bond market and everything is, it's like all of this is debt and everyone is trapped in this debt. But at some point, credit is going to be worthless. People won't be able to pay back their debts. People won't, just like the government can't pay back their debt. I almost feel like that will be a reset button too for people. So even though they feel trapped, I think the government will have to go so far to just reset all of it, including themselves. The end game here is everyone's in so much debt. No one can possibly get out of it. So that's the ultimate smash of the red button, would be something like that.
Well, they've always got the option to bail everyone out onto the balance sheet of the government. Right? And so I struggle to see a scenario like that where you have like a debt jubilee or something, something like that, because
They'll just keep growing it and it'll just be
yeah, you just print money.
Mhm,
You just print money. But the way I mean, we've seen it before. The
mhm,
currency just goes to zero
mhm.
because you just print more money to get out of your debts um, on a nominal basis. But then at some point you need to recapitalize.
But what happens to the people? They keep doing that, then they're not earning more, then everything costs them more. So do more of those people stop working at the same time that technology and AI and robotics comes in to take their jobs because they give up working? Is it all just aligned with this technology boom?
Apologies, my dog has come to sit
Oh,
on
no, that's
sit on my
okay.
lap. I hope you don't mind, Stacey.
No, that's great. That's so
Um,
cute.
but yeah, well, I mean that AI leads us to a slightly different problem. It exacerbates all this, but yeah, you like we in the video we talk about the four outcomes. There's only four outcomes here. It's like you manage to just continue to inflate away, just have inflation persistently, and that accelerates. But that's not really a long term solution because at some point the people rise up and say, "I'm not having any more of this."
Mhm,
Um, and so it's not really a long term solution. So, like, if we say like the currency is going to zero, at some point something bad happens. So, like, there's a revolution. I'm not saying this is in any particular country, but if you look back at like all the countries where their currency's gone to zero, something bad happens. It's like there's a revolution, the government gets overthrown, or at some point shut the banks and they reinstitute the currency. Right? They bail everyone in, they create new monopoly money with someone else's head on it, give it a different denomination, and off you go again. Right? Or there's just war. War, like if we can print money, we should just print money for arms and then invade someone else. Like
mhm.
this is what happens, especially when you have the money printer paired with political extremism that comes from the effects of the money printer.
That's
So if you end
insane.
up being a communist state, you tend not to be waging war on external people. It tends to be waging war on your own people and just exterminating them. And if you go the other end, if you end up as a fascist state, it's everything for the state and you're attacking everybody else until somebody beats you, and then it's just total destruction. But it's war either way, and there's
Mhm,
civil war in the middle. Like if you don't end up at one of the extremes, um, or it's just complete bail-ins for everybody, and it's theft by the state. So that the most you guys have got fallen for it in the 1930s. You just stole the gold from everyone in
mhm.
the US.
Yeah,
Right? You recapitalized by stealing it from your own. Sorry, not stealing. Forfeit. People
well,
handing it in. People handing it in. Right? Because
convince them. Did they convince them
because
to
they said if you don't hand it in
mhm.
and you get caught, it's 10 years in prison or a $10,000 fine.
Well, it was a threat.
Yeah, but didn't. Yeah, it
That's
was.
why I
Of
think the government's just like a big gang.
course
They're
it is.
just gang members.
Of course it is. But this is the same with any government. The government is just whoever has the monopoly on violence in a
Mhm.
territory.
Yeah,
Right. That's all it is. Like the biggest gang is the only one allowed to commit violence against the population. Therefore, they are legitimate. This is government.
right? They just wear suits. I like to say that. They put on the "Trust Me" costume.
Yeah, but it's the same whether you're like a tribal chief in like a little village or you're a superpower. It's the same. No one's allowed to commit violence against the population unless it's you. That's all it is. Right? And
Yeah.
then you create laws and you enforce those laws under the threat of violence. If you don't follow the laws, you end up in a cage. This is it.
And that's why I like that how Bitcoin leads to all these issues in the world when you try to speak up against these things and you have control and censorship like in the UK. Um, you can have a way to discuss the problems of the world without actually getting in trouble because of the peaceful revolution that Bitcoin is. You could just talk about how that is a solution to so many problems. And then that way you don't have to specifically speak on saying something that might cross a line because it is a peaceful revolution. You're just saying opt out. You're not saying fight it, that kind of thing. You're not saying actually rebel, but you're rebelling in a opting out sort of way. You're just saying, "I don't," turn the other cheek kind of thing, like, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Bitcoin is empowering for the individual. The individual can separate money and state. It's like you can continue to print money as long as you want, but just, you know, not in my name anymore.
Mhm.
'Cause,
Yeah,
I live by a different system.
and
Of
that's also what I love about the idea of the war machine or the military industrial complex is when you buy Bitcoin, you are saying, I think something Jack Muller's maybe said, that I own Bitcoin, so my time and energy doesn't contribute to that system or it doesn't contribute to war. That's not on me. I'm like voting against this by owning Bitcoin.
yeah, Bitcoin is a vote for peace,
Mhm.
right? It allows you to. It's the only way out of fiat bondage,
Mm,
um, and it's empowering for you as the individual because you get to. It's like the scales fall from your eyes, and you actually get to see the world as to why it is the way it is. But also, it doesn't have to be this way. Well,
yeah.
it's going to change. It's going to change because everybody who finds Bitcoin never going back. Eventually, it'll be everybody.
I just wonder how long before even those people, the ones in power, try to manipulate and control as long as they can before they even realize that the only way out is for themselves to have Bitcoin and for, to just get off this train and get off, like what they're doing. I mean, how long
Yeah,
before they just even say, okay, we're not going to beat this thing. We're not going to take it down. Why don't we also just, like, how long will they go on before they also just figure it out, and just, I don't know.
it's like most things. I think it's a spectrum, Stacey. Some like we know Bitcoin is a competitive advantage. The sooner you learn about it, the sooner you think about bringing it into your life in the way that allowing it to impact the way that you think and the decisions that you make, the more, the better you are in the long term, right? Because you end up making better decisions. Like you live deliberately
Mhm,
with Bitcoin. Like you are very intentional about what you do.
mhm.
You know, in the fiat system, we have outsourced intention. And Bitcoiners are not like that. It's the opposite. And there's nothing like taking control of your own life to feel like you can make a difference and protects your
Right.
family. Like it's stepping away from hopelessness, really.
Yes. Yeah, I 100% agree with that, and I think that doing it for your family, doing it for others, it's like Bitcoin wants to give back. Bitcoin people wanna give back and share that, and it's all for love and for making a better world around you. Um, but when you think about, why that herd mentality is something that I think when you have groups of people in government or finance or whatever they've grown up and learned, it kind of reminds you of growing up in school and being that different kid in high school that's made fun of. But if you're part of that herd mentality and part of that group of kids that all thinks the same way, then you're cool, or then you're part of the group and we accept you because you're following everyone else. You're a follower. So it's like when you grow up and get into the real world, you followed, the traditional educational system. You followed, the government, what they all do. You want to be, it's literally monkey see, monkey do as grown-ups. And they want to be followers so that they could be accepted. So I
Yeah.
think finding Bitcoin is hard when you're part of a group like that you think now I'll be an outcast if I think different.
Yeah. 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 But the common trait that we all have is that we don't care.
Mhm.
We don't care. It's
Exactly.
like you can tell me to believe something. I don't
Mhm.
believe it. I'll make my own mind up. Thank you. And then, we tend to be pretty good critical thinkers. It's like nobody has found Bitcoin and brought Bitcoin into their life because they without going through that thought process. Because to make it so central to your day-to-day actions is to have reconciled it for yourself on a fundamental level as to why it's important.
Hmm.
Because otherwise you wouldn't be so consistent with it. It's not a fad, it's a structural change. And structural change that is irrevocable.
Hmm.
And, it's only a small percentage of the population who have a mindset like that, have a way of processing information like that, and have a strength of character to tell everyone else, "Yeah, you're wrong."
Hmm.
Right? But it's like that, that video of the guy dancing on the hill. You've seen it at like Glastonbury. There's like some guy and there's like 200 people sat down and he's the only one dancing for like 2 minutes, and then eventually someone else gets up and dances with him. And another minute goes by, and then someone else, and then someone else, then someone, and then everybody. It's
Hmm.
like there will be a tipping point where it will be everybody.
Right.
But even when it is everybody, they won't have gone through the same thought process. It will be
Hmm.
everybody because something changed.
Right.
It'll be everybody because Bitcoin is now integrated into something everyone uses every day.
And maybe it'll take that one instead of being that one weird kid in school dancing on the hill alone, it'll be like the popular kid that decides to start dancing and everyone will be like, "Oh, now it's cool to do it because they're doing it."
Exactly. Exactly. Imagine like Taylor Swift. I'm picking her out, as a
Yeah.
famous person, comes out and goes, "I'm a Bitcoiner."
Mhm.
I mean, there are gonna be I'm not saying that's what we want or that's likely in any scenario, but it's more like there are gonna be like these little unlocks where
Mhm.
people hello, Mel.
Hey, how are you? I was
Hi.
just gonna write you back.
Great. How are you guys?
Good. It's so nice having a panel. You're kind of just discussing sort of like that herd mentality and kind of like how breaking away from that mentality is a hard thing to do. And you were talking about there was some like if there's a video of a person dancing on the hill alone, but then eventually there's like a breaking point where everybody joins in. Uh,
Yeah, and we were saying, Mel, like, when people join in en masse, it's quite often that they haven't made they will have not made the conscious decision as to why they just join in. And so, the people who are in Bitcoin now are very deliberate in the decision making, the critical thinking path, and the decision making they've made in their own lives. And they're very
Mhm.
firm in that view. And that's why they engage. That's why they share with people. But there'll be a point in the not too distant future where people just use it because other people use it and it's normal, not because they've gone through a critical thinking process. They,
Right.
they won't know why they use it. They won't be able to necessarily articulate why it's so
It's very
important for
true.
humanity. It'll just be like, yeah, well, I just use it. And
Yeah.
it's like once we reach that point, that's great, right? But it's also not too far along.
Oh, here's another thing I think along with that is that one of those sayings of when something becomes mass adoption, it's when most of the world is using it, not realizing they're even using it. So when it comes to something like the Square system being used in businesses, and just yesterday they went live with Bitcoin payments, but even besides that, prior to the Bitcoin payments going live, you were able to convert a certain portion of sales into Bitcoin, up to 50% of your sales of your business. So when people are, all this time I've been trying to convince people to pay with Bitcoin or trying to teach them how to use Cash App to get them to use it at my business. But once you have a Square system and you start accepting Bitcoin payments, people are paying with their credit card anyway. And I'm like, well, I still got you to use Bitcoin, whether you knew it or not. So when that starts
Yeah,
to
but did they
happen,
or did they just use fiat and
they
we
use
took
they use
Bitcoin?
fiat, but I auto convert it as a business to Bitcoin.
That's what I would
So
do too. I have to get
They
this.
think they're using fiat, but it just instantly gets converted. So technically that sale, whatever they used, it still got
Sure.
purchased as Bitcoin and given to me that way. So I think when that type of system puts pressure on other systems to do the same thing, or other people want that same competition, I'd like to convert a portion of my sales, and it puts other pressure on their systems.
Well, think about it. Who does it hurt? It hurts Visa and MasterCard. And the money that they end up losing is where I can see the fight. I can see them trying, like in 2022, I was in Miami for the conference, and Jack Mallers made the most amazing presentation about this exactly, about being able to take whatever payments you wanted and then convert them in, like, you could take the ruble and get the US dollar, or you could take, this and get Bitcoin. And, it was so exciting. And I'm like, this is it. This is what changes everything. And the point of it is that amount of money in the center that is getting spent by us, and then them not instantly settling this. They take that time, like when we transfer money, and like if I send something to you, it's going to take you 3 days or something for it to clear fully. And the banks are using that time and that opportunity to use that money for their own hedging and things like that. So it's like when Jack made that, I just thought, oh, this fixes everything. And I don't think he thought it. I certainly never thought about it. Visa and MasterCard are not going to go down lightly. They're just not.
Well, what do you think about that, Joe? Because I think I have a little bit of an idea.
Well, I don't think it's even registering on their radar.
Oh, I do.
Honestly, it's so small right now. Bitcoin payments is so small.
But see, once you're Walmart, and you do the math and you look at the
Yeah.
billion, I mean, you're like literally spending just on fees. And if
Oh
Walmart
yeah, absolutely.
decided,
It's robbery. It's robbery. But Mel, if you're Visa or Mastercard
Mhm.
and you see like Visa and Mastercard are two of the biggest companies in America, you look at their profit margin. Their profit margins 50%. If you rank the top 25, and I'll get these numbers slightly wrong, so forgive me. It's been a little while since I looked at them. Like if you rank like the top 25 American businesses
Mm.
and you looked at their gross profit margins, most of them are 20, like high teens to mid 20s percentage. Visa and MasterCard 50% each because they haven't been disrupted
No.
because they've got effectively a duopoly. It's slightly misleading because when Staci, when you're getting charged, I don't know, 2% by Visa, they're actually only making 20 basis points there. They're making a tenth of that, and 90% of that is going to the banks who originate the transaction on both sides, the receiver and the payer. So, for Visa, they're making 20 basis points, but half of that is profit, right? Because they get the system. But if you're there and you're thinking, right, we've got this duopoly and we've got the massive profit margins. What's the threat we need to be thinking about? It's absolutely not Bitcoin. And it's
I
absolutely not
don't know.
Bitcoin because it's stable coins, Mel. Because
Oh
stable
yeah,
coin,
that's a good point.
yeah.
I can see
So
that.
like if you're in the Visa war room right now, and we're like, oh my god, what's the biggest threat on the horizon? You've got like Bitcoin is like way in the
Yeah,
distance,
but does
but
does
the
uh does a
elephant,
stable coin
like
settle
the
instantly?
giant horde at the gates is stable coins.
That's
Yeah, yeah. So there will be a time when Bitcoin's at the gates as well.
Does the stable coin settle instantly?
Yeah. But it doesn't have to
I don't,
pass through the existing Visa settlement network or Mastercard sent my
See, I
network. And
think
so,
they're going to try to make it that way, though. I think they're going to try to put that stable
of course,
coin with another bank or somebody to lend it credibility, and then it doesn't change their fee structure. It just makes them more able to take payments from people all over the world instead
yeah.
of, just in the US or just who has access to the US dollar. Well, I mean, that got a whole lot bigger. So we know that the stable coin is a big deal because I think of Western Union and I think of people like in my town in Illinois sending money home to their families using Western Union instead of a stable coin or Bitcoin.
Well, frankly, these businesses shouldn't exist, right?
Oh, I agree.
Because they only exist because they're protected by regulation. And this is a consequence of the big red button, Staci, right? You print money, you bring industries closer and closer to the government, and you protect them with regulation. So that, an industry becomes very profitable. They're going to go to the government and say, you should regulate the industry to protect the public. Right? It's not
Mhm.
about protecting the public, it's about reducing competition. Like once you make it
Sure.
so hard for people to compete against you, you effectively see the opposite of what you should see in a free market, which is prices falling and quality going up. You see prices going up and quality falling. This is why the healthcare system is totally destroyed in America.
Oh
This is
God.
why this is why the banking system
Listen,
and all the
I
payments
spent
networks
last
are.
week I spent last week in Detroit with
Oh,
my mother who's having some major medical issues, and what a disaster. What a disaster.
yeah.
Stay healthy.
And I get so upset with the medical industry because I mean, so many of the problems that you think it's just they're not taught or incentivized to think about what could have prevented you to get sick. It's more like once you get sick, then we'll just, treat that instead of trying to figure out,
Oh yeah.
how to not get you there in the first place.
Yeah, but there's a couple of things. There is, what caused it in the first place, which again is all downstream of the corruption of the money. But then your ability to deal with the consequences increasingly hampered because of the lack of the free market to solve these things. Because the free market
Yeah.
doesn't exist anymore. It's all
Well, it's like
regulation
COVID.
and corruption.
After all of that nightmare and so many doctors and nurses, I mean, listen, I spent 2 weeks in the hospital in 2020. I had a life-threatening emergency that happened to me. It was crazy, and I ended up spending 2 weeks in the hospital, and I was by myself because no other people could come in. It was during COVID, and these people were wonderful to me, and they cared, and it breaks your heart to realize that there are people out there that want to take care of other people, but then they're kind of hampered by what their um what do you call it, barriers are. But for such a horrific thing, I had a great experience. Now, my mom has had the worst experience over the past month. And I realized too, not only, let's see, I'm gonna just say this, it's super blunt and horrifying, but they just want old people to be dead. Die. Just die. We don't really want to deal with you. Like, and my mother
I'm
has
sorry.
my mother has something it's called NPH, and it is fluid in the left ventricle of your brain. She has something called PNH, and it's
About how they don't want
fluid in the left. Right, how they just want old people to die. And she has something that can be completely reversed, and she would be fine, she would be herself again. And they don't care. They don't care. It's like,
they don't
"Well, we
cover
can't
it
do this
or
because of this." Well, it's like a whole thing of, like, she fell and she was on blood thinners and they had to make a choice, like the blood thinners or no blood thinners. So now her heart's not strong enough for them to drain the fluid from her brain. So it's like this terrible, like, a nightmare,
Yeah.
and they would just prefer to stick her over at the nursing place, to recover and forget about it.
Instead of trying something,
Yep.
they're just kind of like, "Oh, we can't," you know?
Yeah.
See that a lot because it's like when I think about I see a lot of older people at, at my work, and I just think that there's always Uh, it goes back to the fiat system too, because it's like, hey, keep working longer. The retirement keeps getting pushed further away because you can't afford to retire and know that you'll be fine. So you keep working longer and longer because your money doesn't get you as far. Then you get sick. And instead of trying to tell you, hey, like I've heard of people, all sorts of things they could have checked prior to this thing happening, but they just never knew they should get these certain things checked or monitored until it becomes a serious issue. And then by the time you actually think you're gonna retire, now you have some serious health concern that you won't ever collect Social Security, because something happens to you and you worked so long and.
My husband is a boomer, all right? When he turned, 6 we did that research. He turned 62 and a half and was eligible. We're like, "Let's take it." Like, "I'm gonna take
Mhm,
it now." Like, "Why are we waiting?" Like, "What if something
mhm.
happened?" Take what you can get, especially when you've put into it for all those years.
Isn't that funny too, Joe? I don't know if you have ideas on that too, being in the UK, but you wait longer because you think, oh, if I work 2 more years, I'll get like $100 extra on my check. Does that matter at that point?
Uh,
I don't know.
well, I think there's a lot of things that go into making that decision
Hmm.
for anybody. But Mel, I'm sorry to hear about your mom. I hope she recovers. But
Thanks. And me
unfortunately,
too,
it's
but I think it really is the bigger, picture of how they don't have it. They don't have the facilities for it. They don't have the money for it. When I was in the hospital in 2020, I laid there thinking about because I just was trying to heal and I couldn't watch TV. I couldn't watch the news. And I'm like watching what's going around at the hospital. Like the first most inefficient thing was their food service. Like, why are you doing this like this? Like insane. It's got to be costing them a fortune. And so it was just like little things that I just kept thinking like this could be this could be that.
Hmm.
But no one cares.
Uh,
well, I think
No one cares.
with a lot of systems, the system delivers inertia. Is it, because nobody goes to work each day wanting to do a bad job. Especially in the medical profession, people spend
True.
years studying, and they go into that because for the most part, they want to help people. Um, and so nobody wants to be inefficient. But then you end up wrapping people in red tape, and you remove the incentives.
Mhm. And we're
And so,
humans,
and we're
you know?
humans. We're humans, but if you leave
We're gonna
humans
have a
alone,
bad day. There might be a day your mom walks in and that one human decides, I'm not doing this or I'm not in the mood for this. And, there's just so many human-esque things that could get eliminated.
yeah, well, I think that's coming down a pipe with AI, isn't it? But
Mm.
yeah, you can never take the human volatility out of the equation with these things. But
No. But I think people forget that. I think people forget that about the human volatility part of everything. And I think that's a huge piece of what's happening with fiat, what's happening with healthcare, what's happening with everything is that inserted human thing that just doesn't work and
yeah,
can slowly start, killing it.
when you feel less confident about the future and less sure in the decisions that you're making on a day-to-day basis, and you have a greater stack of worries because things are moving in the wrong direction, that leads you to not be in a good place mentally.
Yeah.
And that, you know, you then pass that on to other people in every single interaction you have around you. Whereas if you turn that around, and if you're a Bitcoiner and you think in decades, not in months, and you're positive about the future and you're very intentional about what you do, then that can be a very positive set of interactions you then have with other people. And so,
Yeah.
you
And
know,
listen,
it's
I saw with my
it's
mother, who's not, I'm just again being completely truthful. My mom has not always been the most pleasant, okay? And she's not been a happy person for a long time. Um, and I think it makes you want to die. Like,
Yeah.
I'm broke, I'm this, I'm that. So what the hell? I may as well just be dead anyway.
Right.
And
Well, they think,
there's
yeah, that's so true because you're not you don't have hope for the future, so
right.
you have that depression and there's no point, so when there is a point, you want to take care of yourself and do better for your future. But
Yeah,
that's why I think like what you were saying, Joe, too, is like I don't like showing more people the way, showing them there's an answer and there is hope spreads positivity throughout the world. It's like there's more um that energy matters. People do affect each other, and the more positive
exactly.
thinking people and the more hopeful people you have in the world, they infect other people with positive energy and hope and courage, and just like the ability to help other people and just spread that light, so it's like such a dark place right now, but I think,
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like Gary Leland, if you guys know, one of the Bitcoin boomers. He owns BitBlock Boom. And him and his wife, they're just killing it. I mean, they are healthy, they are strong. I'm like, I said to him, I'm like, you guys look hot. I mean, look at you. You look better than you did 10 years ago. And like, look at you guys. You're doing whatever you want to do. And they are so happy. And like, Gary is going to start a new podcast called the 200-Year Life Project. He wants to be the first
that's
person to live to 200 years old, and he wants to talk to everybody about how to do it. And I thought, how amazing! Like, I wish my mom felt like that, or you wish that there were people that were that excited about just living.
well, Bitcoin gives you purpose,
Hmm.
right? And regardless of how old you are, because it's about the long term. It's about like stable foundations, and if someone's in their 80s or something, you might not be thinking about the long term. But Stacey, one of the like, with the video, with what's the problem? Like, we've had a 93-year-old who's like, I'm buying Bitcoin.
that's amazing.
It's
Yeah.
like, it's never,
Love it.
it's never too late
Hmm.
to realize like what is happening
Right.
and to think about the future. Even at 93, you'd be thinking, you know,
That's amazing. I mean,
it's,
my grandma was 93 and my
it,
God, I think about her. She was a feisty one at that age, but yeah, 93 years old, it's not just about you, it's about the legacy. Even if you don't have your own kids, you have nieces, nephews, anyone that you can um, you know, leave anything to in a better way than you had it, so
yeah,
there's hope for future generations, even if you think, "Oh, how much time do I really have left?" You still can help your family, and I
Yeah.
love that you're, just taking the time to watch that video, to watch what's the problem and just taking that time. It's so, I mean, it's not too long, it's under an
Wait, what
hour.
video are we talking about?
What's the problem? Joe Bryan's video. I'm gonna
um,
put in the links
I'd
for
love you,
the
I'd love
episode
you to
too.
watch him. Let me know
Yeah, I
if
would
Yes.
love
you,
to.
you enjoy it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
he's got like hundreds of thousands, I don't know, tons of views on it, and he's
amazing.
been
That's
on.
that's incredible.
Um, so it's like he's just, I don't know, the way you explain it is literally to the point, very well thought out, easy to digest, very, I don't know, just really just cuts through the noise is the way I think of it. So that's why I mean, it's really gotten a lot of
Yeah, I'm
engagement and
excited to send it to my dad
mm,
because
yeah, yeah.
after, it's only been like 8 years since I started to really like get to understand this. And I've been trying to get this man on board, and he's not a dumb guy. He's a smart guy. Now
Ooh, that would
he
be
is,
amazing to
This
see
is
if you got a 93-year-old and then you got your dad. We'll be like, "Hell, let's
yeah.
get a."
this is a
So
good
like,
test. It's a good
I
test.
Mhm,
need, I need to show him that
Yeah.
mhm.
because like something in him something has to make it click. and I don't
Mhm.
know what it's going to be.
I'm gonna play this on repeat at my salon whenever there's, like, a good amount of people sitting around, even if they're not paying attention, they'll start to, like, their ears will perk up.
Well, I mean, how old are you? You know, this
Me?
should make your ear no, not you, but, like, your at
Okay,
your,
second
salon.
one.
Like, how old
Oh,
are you?
yeah, yeah.
And so do you want to, um I mean, listen, I'm old, yet I'm too young to not have Bitcoin. Like, I have to
Mhm.
have it, or we're going to end up in trouble,
Well,
okay?
that's the
Because
thing, you need it for your kids, you need it for your parents at this age, older people need it for their retirement or for their kids, and
yeah.
young people need it for their future. It's literally everyone needs it.
Well, now if you're a boomer, you're not like I found in the research that I've done for the podcast that the number one objection is we don't need it.
Do you
And
have boomers on your podcast that are not Bitcoiners yet, and then you're trying to talk to them about Bitcoin?
that is coming.
Ooh, so you should do his video as, like,
Dad is going to be number one. My dad is going to talk to Bob Burnett, and I'm going to,
mhm.
it's like,
You should
if
be
there's
like, "Hey, before
anyone
you
on
join
earth
my
that
show, watch
thought,
this episode watch this, what's the problem?" And
oh,
then be like
yeah, I'm going
and be
to.
like, "This is your
Yeah,
research
listen.
homework before you join me," and then see how we talk after.
Yep. And that's what I told him. I said, you are going to be, I said, do you know how many people would love to have Bob Burnett explain Bitcoin to them or
Well, just
Larry
the way
Lepard?
Michael Saylor gave his board homework, you'll give your try
Yep.
find guests that don't understand Bitcoin and be like, "This is your homework before you join me. Let's see how it goes."
Well, like there's that. And then I
Awesome.
met this couple in Miami. They came to my meetup and they're older. She's 10 years, like she's like 67. And her husband's like 10 years older than her. Uh, he was a doctor in New York. They both grew up fairly wealthy.
Mhm.
Um, and something made them decide to go all in on Bitcoin and put their life savings into it. Now, that's the story I want to know. That's what I want to hear from somebody
Right.
who is a successful boomer and has had like they'd be fine. They didn't need to do anything. They had enough money to live comfortably for the rest of their lives and still leave some to the family. But they went in the direction of Bitcoin. And they keep the majority of their wealth in that. So that's the kind of stories I want to hear as well, because I think that would help parents and grandparents if they understood why other people were doing it, especially people who had a really successful
Such a good
fiat.
idea. I'm gonna play Is your podcast live yet?
We have our first episode is live. So
Okay.
you can
I
watch
wanna
that
do,
at
like, a playlist at the shop every day, and it's gonna be like, "What's the problem?" first on the
Mhm.
playlist, and then it's gonna just keep scrolling through the Bitcoin Boomer podcast
Well, and
for
like so I
people
want to do like 20
because
questions. I
why
want
not?
to do things like 20 questions with Larry Lepard. I want to do boomer to
People
boomer,
want to
like where
relate,
boomers can
right?
ask. Yeah, I think so. And I just keep thinking the boomers, because of how they grew up, you know, my dad and I were having this conversation where he didn't really realize the faith in institutions, faith in the banks, faith in hospitals, faith in all of that. It was very different then. And it was like being in kindergarten and having the police officer come and visit the class. And when he left, you as a kid thought, this is where I go because if I need help or I'm not safe, I can tug on his sleeve and he's going to help me. And you learn that in kindergarten. And then then someday you learn that's not how that works.
Mhm.
And
How do
so
you
like
feel, Joe, about the boomer situation in the UK? Do you feel like a lot of people that are more later in life sort of thing, are they comfortable in the UK? Are
yeah,
they
is it the
not?
same thing like where they have more money there because that
Yeah,
was a
I mean,
better
it
era?
wasn't a better
Well,
era.
that's true.
They've just been on the right side of the money printer by owning assets for 50 years. That's all it
Right.
is,
Well, I mean,
right?
that's the
While
era though, right after World War II.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean,
We're gonna
the
rebuild.
free market has now been destroyed to an
Oh, well,
extent that there is no real growth,
nope.
and the money printer is accelerating the destruction of everything. Like
Oh, for sure.
we're over the top of the hill in
But when you grow
that
up,
journey.
you grow up that way. And this is the white picket fence, and your mom is home, and you have a brother or sister, and
Yeah,
your
yeah,
dad works every day, comes home at 5. It's like life doesn't work that way anymore.
but it
Both
should.
parents have to work,
It,
and,
yeah,
this is just over my lifetime. I've been married for 27 years, and when we started year 1 to where we are today, it's crazy, the difference. I mean, in everything.
you're gonna love the video, Mel.
I can't wait.
Mhm.
Yeah. All
She
right.
will. She's really gonna
Yeah.
love it.
All right.
Yeah, I can't wait till you watch it. You gotta let us know what you thought of it.
Yeah, I can't
Um,
wait.
but at any point, Joe, if you have to get going, I know you've
I
been
have
on
to
here for
go.
over an hour. Yeah,
I
you
have
do?
to,
Okay.
I've got 2 teenage daughters sending me
Okay.
Snapchat messages.
I figured,
But
I was like, let me
I need
just
to.
ask him so he
Wow.
doesn't feel
Wait a minute. None of my kids have ever let me near Snapchat.
uh
Uh,
So nice.
yeah,
I'm glad
I
I'm
use
glad
it
you're in here.
reluctantly. We
are
we
they like, "Where are you?"
well, we used to have a WhatsApp chat as a
Mhm.
family, and then the girls left WhatsApp. It's like, oh, if we wanna talk to them, we've
Uh,
also gotta be where they speak to each other. So yeah,
yeah.
That's so funny.
so yeah, I'm being summoned,
Well,
so
okay.
Stacy, so I need to go.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us
Well,
today.
nice
Thank you for
meeting
doing
you
the
in person.
panel. Thank you for being here for both episodes. I love it.
Yeah,
And I can't
yeah,
wait.
sorry, we sort of blended them together, haven't we? But yeah,
Yes.
Yeah,
nice to meet you, Mel, and let me know
you too. You too.
how you get on and how your dad gets on. Fingers
Yes.
crossed.
Yes, I will.
Alright, thanks a lot,
Thanks.
Stacey.
Take care. Have a good
See
day.
ya. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.